Who's running this where we're living? We keep screaming but nobody listens.
So the Border Patrol gives themselves an A+ last week after they received a call about a suspicious man swimming across the St. Clair River into Marine City. I think it was around 1 o'clock or something in the morning. A Canadian man was caught smuggling 8 pounds of pot into the U.S. The reason I wanted to cover this local story was because it ties into a couple bigger issues. And the Border Patrol loves grandstanding, like any federal agency, and they love showing off their new toy, well, a couple years new, the remote video surveillance system, which are cameras that go all the way through St. Clair County. And they're trying to make the case of how these cameras caught this guy, when in reality it was a local resident who called it in, dispatched out to local police, Border Patrol. The cameras just watched the guy swim ashore, and then he was caught. And my first issue with these cameras is we don't need them. Michigan doesn't need these cameras. This arrest happened because a resident called it in. It could have been handled by the local sheriff, which have boats around here. And I'd rather keep my right to privacy than lose it because a couple illegal immigrants come through St. Clair County every year. I mean, I'd rather stop the incentives, the welfare and everything, before I lose some of my privacy. These cameras are always watching boaters, fishermen, swimmers out on the lakes or the river. And we're assured by government officials that they'll never be used for anything but border security. Representative Candace Miller says, quote, "This is simply and specifically a system for border security." And she goes on to say, basically, it'll never be used for, drinking on a boat or anything like that. But if you know anything about government or understand anything about it, it's just a matter of time before that line is crossed. It's going to take one incident, one bad drunk driving accident out on the water or something, or whatever they find, and we'll cross that line eventually. Another point I wanted to make was, the double standard that happens with the situation where if you bring smuggled drugs in through the U.S., you're going to be put in prison, probably a long time. And, that doesn't happen if you're government and you bring drugs into the U.S. And there's a recent story a couple weeks ago where the Air Force shipped in 24 tons of cocaine from Costa Rica. Now, they did it because their incinerators were down in Costa Rica, so the U.S. was going to help them and burn their cocaine, supposedly, even though they broke all kinds of regulations, didn't go through the right chain of command, did it extremely secretive, too, and made a couple pit stops along the way, too. But, needless to say, breaking all those regulations, doing all that, that's okay. They can bring in 24 tons of cocaine and supposedly burn it. Like, the opposite side to the story is, there's an article from The Fix, and it says, Border Patrol agents knowingly let drugs into the U.S. Basically, they're outmanned, they're outgunned, and drug cartels just swarm them, and, I don't blame them. I mean, I wouldn't go out against 20 guys and fully automatic weapons and try and stop them bringing drugs in, but they're basically letting them in. They don't have a choice. But then you come over here and they can spend $20 million on cameras that really do nothing and act like they're saving the whole state of Michigan over here or whatever, just doing an A+ job on border security, when the opposite side, the Mexican-U.S. border, it's just pouring in. They can't even stop it. They don't have the resources. But, it just shows the hypocrisy of government. The point I'm trying to make is that big government loves expensive toys, especially when they come at the expense of the slave taxpayer, which is me and you. And the bigger the government program is, the better chance it won't work.